Yeah,
Hey guys, and by guys, I mean just Johan, because it's just the two of us tonight, buddy.
yeah. Unfortunately, Joe can't join us, but we're still. I don't know if I would say happy, but willing to talk about
You
Nats baseball right now.
you sound so happy to be talking about Nets baseball right now.
It's been
It
a long
is
day, man.
it is, as they say, dark times.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much can change in 3 days.
Yeah. We can wait a second to get into it until
Yeah, I gotta tweet out links too, but yeah.
yeah. Well, as soon as I get a link. But
Okay. Word.
I know, you got it. It's cool. We're just talking. I'm drinking vodka, which is great.
I
It's just
got
delicious.
the high quality H2O.
Mm. Oh, I did bring that in with me. I'm in the bar again, so
Nice.
it's where I like to be. It's a good little podcast studio because I've got my scarves on the wall, so it kind of absorbs sound.
Oh, dude. Speaking of scarves,
Yeah,
um, I almost got you a Nats World Series one, but
they have them.
there's a dude randomly walking by selling them,
What the
like
fuck,
while I was in security line.
dude? Are you kidding
But
me?
I was so worried that I was gonna just not be able to carry it all game and just like leave it somewhere on accident.
Oh my
So I didn't have
god,
anywhere to put it.
dude, I would have rather you not even told me
I was
because
actually like
now I have to find it.
right when I started to tell you, I was like, man, I probably shouldn't be telling him this.
Because now I have to find it. Oh my god. Well, that's like the one thing I let myself buy after the Caps one was a Cup
Scarf.
champion scarf,
Nice.
and it
Well, I'm
was
sorry.
really expensive.
Uh, yeah, I should have just fucking done it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Are you planning on going to any of the watch parties?
Definitely not tomorrow. Possibly 7, I guess.
Okay, cool. I've got tickets to 7 just in case.
You got the club?
Of course, I got the club.
Oh, of course you got the club. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Bye, Joe.
Joe.
I'll text you when we're done. And twatted. I'm watching Monday Night Football.
Oh, I forgot that was on. Did y'all? It's
Yeah.
the Dolphins and Steelers. That's gonna
Yeah.
that's gonna be a barn burner.
Whew, sure is.
Um,
Fitz magic at quarterback.
let me check this out. I just recently got into Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so I was watching that before the call started.
I maybe 4 weeks ago now, literally watched the entire series in about 6 weeks. Or I'm sorry, in about 10 days.
For the
The
first
entire
time?
six, yeah, for the first time.
Wow.
Yep. It had been one of those things that was always on my list. Like,
Yeah, same
I
here.
know I'm going to love this because, like, I love Parks, I love The Office, like Good Place, I like all those, the same production team and writers. Like, I love Andy Samberg, and I was like, I know I'm going to love this, but it's not on Netflix or anything like that. So I was able to snag a Hulu subscription off of someone and share theirs. And I literally just, for 10 days, that's all I watched. And it's spectacular.
Yeah, I'm just getting into that. I already like it. I liked a lot of the characters. They're pretty funny.
Yeah. It's pretty well fleshed out. And I'd have to say it's probably the most representative show on television.
Yeah, it's true.
Like you've got black cops in power, a gay cop in power who's also black, um, Latino, multiple people. It's just young people, old people. It's just all over the spectrum, and it's pretty dope.
Yeah. Andre Brower is absolutely hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. So, do you want to talk about baseball? Maybe a little. Ouch. Ugh.
Yeah, let's do that for a little bit, I guess. Even though, hey, I was still looking forward to this. I will say that.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
I
it's
always
nice
like
to.
this is my favorite thing, man. Not even just like Nats, but just talking about baseball, man.
I love talking
Good
about
and
baseball.
bad.
Yeah,
There's
I
more,
mean,
and there's
Jo-
sometimes more to talk about when they're bad.
Joe and I did our best work, and by best work, I mean our like D minus work when the Nats were just absolute dog shit. So
Right.
yeah, it's definitely good for content, and it's I think it's easier to write about the team or talk about the team when they're terrible, just
Yeah, like
because
how
it's
you guys talk about when they're good. You kind of we all agree on everything.
yeah, we're all hype, and it's like, oh, the Nats are on a great stretch. It's because their pitching is amazing. Let's talk about how amazing it is. When it's not going well, I mean, we got plenty to talk about, but we're not
Yeah.
going to go as in depth as we did on our last show. Partially because, I mean, there's not a whole lot of differentiation between the last three games. I mean, they all followed a very, very similar script. Um, so it's kind of just one long game, and the Nats just happened to lose three out of it. I mean, yeah, timely hitting wasn't there. You've got giving up runs early, and that's pretty much the ball game.
Yeah, all three were kind of like equally awful.
Yeah,
And I don't know if I want to, I don't know if you want to, and I don't know if anybody listening wants to really dive deep into those three games again. So we're just gonna
yeah,
like
I
kind
don't
of hit the
particularly want
surface.
to. Yeah, I think surface level is perfectly fine
Yeah.
because like it blends together even more because it's not like game one was a 5-4 win. It was close. It was dramatic, and game two was close for a little while, but turned into a blowout. So there was a lot of difference in the games. Whereas this was insert Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. The Nats scored one run, and the Astros had a lead and just tacked on progressively throughout the game. Like
Yeah,
that's how all of the games went.
game three on Friday just kind of felt like a this is how the weekend's gonna go before we knew it. Because
Yeah,
like pretty much everything that happened in game kind of just ticked up the next game and then ticked up to yesterday, just being just not good.
yeah. You had
Uh,
Anibal Sanchez start the game, and he did fine.
yeah, I mean it wasn't as good as last time, but yeah, he gave up.
I mean, 2 weeks off will do that.
Yeah, and I mean they're just really good. Like
Yeah, the
sometimes
Astros are really
teams
good at
they're really
baseball.
good. Like he gave up 10 hits, and he got all four were for him. Um, but yeah, like they just kind of waited him out whenever he made mistakes. They kind of just made sure they capitalized, which is they're really good
I
at.
have I have never seen a team capitalize on their advantages like the Astros have. Not just like the Nationals pitching staff, you miss a pitch and they take advantage, but they're taking advantage of umpire mistakes too.
Yeah,
And in a big way.
it's
And I mean, the Nationals defense, I think, has been pretty damn solid outside of a couple little boneheaded plays here and there that are more mental errors. But they're just taking everything, every little inch that you give them and running with it.
yeah, especially like when it comes to. I know I'm sure we'll get into the umpiring later, but the reason why every pitch is so amplified is because even if you only throw them one decent pitch to hit in the at bat, they're hitting it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who's pitching. They could be working the edges the entire bat, and that one time that mistake like catches a little more plate than the edge, they're
Yep.
capitalizing on it. Like
Yeah. And
a lot of those hits off of Sanchez in game three. I mean, we were watching together. It's like, man, that was a pretty good pitch, and
yep.
they're just doing a lot with very little, to be honest, at the beginning, and then it just kind of started cascading after that against us.
Yeah. I don't think the Nats necessarily fell apart. Um, it wasn't like you looked at them and they had given up. It was just like more of a frustration. Like, oh my gosh, I'm pitching, I'll throw 30 great pitches in a row. And all of a sudden I throw one bad one and they crush it.
Yep.
It's very defeating for a pitcher and it's very shocking. Um, but that's just the Astros. I mean, this is just the kind of team they are. They won 107 games in the regular season, and they did it because there's no outs in their lineup, top to bottom, and they're getting production from their freaking both catchers.
Yeah,
The catcher came
Torino's.
in.
Yeah,
Chirinos came in hitting like 160 in
yeah,
the
he's
postseason,
killing
and
us
he's
from
got
the eight
two
hole.
bombs.
Yeah, in the eight hole.
And then last night in Game 5, Maldonado went yard.
Yep.
Like you're just it's the bottom of their lineup, and they're still able to get the job done. And so top to bottom, it's just a fantastically built lineup. Even their bench is great, and you got to tip your cap sometimes. And it was a lot of that this weekend, and it really sucked ass.
Yeah, did you get the feeling like it was suffocating, to be honest? It was like you get to the pitcher spot, like, oh, okay, you can breathe for a batter, and then, oh, shit, George Springer's up again. And Altuve's right behind him, and Brantley's right behind him, and then Bregman's right behind him, and just, like, you get, like, one batter off, and then it's just back to just tough, tough, tough at-bats. Like, it really didn't have, like, imagine pitching against that. It's nuts.
No, I don't think I will. Thank you. But yeah, and George Springer, I mean, he is the new Mr. October. He
Yeah,
is
dude.
absolute freak when it gets to the postseason. He
I
and
mean,
Altuve just together are just absolutely unstoppable. And I know Saturday, was it last night? Altuve grounded into 2 double plays, which is just a miracle.
yeah.
But the Nats weren't able to take advantage.
Hmm. Yeah, Tuve, I mean, we don't get to see him enough, obviously, but he just the stuff. Some of the times, the stuff he gets hits on is just ridiculous. Like it'll be like 3 inches off the plate, out and down, and somehow he gets around it and wraps it into the left field on a line, and
Yeah.
then he'll break his bat, and it's just good enough to get between the second baseman and right fielder.
Yep. Little
He's just
dying quail.
everything, man. And then, I mean, Brantley is. I mean, I
Brantley's
mentioned
just a
before,
hitter.
he's a left-handed Rendon, but he kind of was it which game was it? I can't remember now, but he was like Tony Gwynning it. Like everything, he had like 2 singles, no, 3 singles and like a double, I think, and they're all to left center. Just the most patient guy, and he just waits for the ball to get to him. Right? I don't think he's struck out. I don't know if he
No,
struck out
not a
this entire
strikeout guy at
series.
all.
Right, and like so, it's like impossible to get him out. And so,
Yeah.
like that's why you have to walk him to get to Bregman, which
Yeah.
just
Which
sucks.
is, yeah, which was better than Anthony Rendon this year. Yeah.
Yeah, just casually. Um, But yeah, man, their lineup is just an absolute buzzsaw. And Greinke did okay. I thought he did um, just kind of like what he was expected to do. And I thought he got, I mean, you and I were kind of freaking out all night that he got a bunch of calls. I mean, what was it?
Yep.
Oh, they were 0 for 11 runners in scoring position.
Yep.
I think at least like 7 or 8 of those at bats, there was one bad call to get him to 2 strikes, and so he could
Yeah.
throw whatever he wanted, and we were just at his mercy, and they couldn't do anything. And it kind of makes sense why they're not able to get hits with runners in scoring position, because they're getting screwed out of at bats because of borderline calls. That like
Right.
it seemed like the umpire, who was it that night? It was Cedarstrom. It
Yeah.
seemed like he was looking for strikes when Greinke was pitching, but not when Anibal was pitching.
No, and I don't think either either team's catchers are particularly good at framing.
Yeah.
So I noticed it a little bit more aggressively last night, and it seemed like every single first pitch Garrett Cole threw was out, up and
Up.
away
Yep.
from righties
Yep.
outside the zone, and it was called a strike pretty much every time. And
Yep.
there was that one point, I think it was the Ryan Zimmerman walk at the end of Cole's outing, where it went to that same place he'd been hammering all night,
Yep.
and it had been a strike all night, and Maldonado and Cole started running off the field, and it was a walk to Ryan Zimmerman. And I would be pissed too if I were Cole, because that was a strike all night,
Hmm.
except for against Ryan Zimmerman in that one at bat, because we saw an even worse pitch the very next at bat go out, be called for a strike on Victor Robles, which I'm not prepared to get into right this second, because we're still
Yeah.
um,
Kind of in game
talking
three.
about some other things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just the I saw so many people come back at me about the umpiring, saying it's one pitch, the Nats aren't hitting, like it's their fault. I agree. Yes, the Nats aren't getting the job done. They're not getting those hits in scoring position. But I think most people also truly underestimate how much one pitch can change an entire approach for a bat, especially strike one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a pitch out of the zone called a strike on your first pitch, you've got to completely adjust. And so you've got to expand your strike zone because you don't know if it's going to be called a strike next time, which means you got to swing at more pitches that you don't like because you know they're going to be called strikes, and then you might be down 0-2 or 1-2. So even one bad call changes the course of an entire at bat, and we actually saw several moments. And I think in Game 5, obviously it's the most fresh in my mind. Springer had an 0-2 call that was
Mm-hmm.
a strike, but it was called a ball, and he ended up either walking or hitting a
Oh, he hit a
two-run
home
home
run.
run.
He hit
Yeah,
a home
he hit
run.
a home run.
Oh, and it wasn't even like edge. It was like squarely in the corner.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a cross up. It wasn't like he threw it across from his target. It was like Jan was there. And like
Yep.
there's nothing. And
Yep.
then that's one of one of the ones those bats I was talking about. The next four pitches he like fouled off and they were like on the edges. And then he
Yep.
finally like hung a slider and took it out.
Yep. And the same thing happened in on Saturday night's Game 4. The Nationals were down 4-1, still in the game. Like they were getting runners on. They were, not looking great, but they were getting some congestion on the bases. And all of a sudden, they get to strike them out, throw them out, and oh wait, no, it's a
It's a
ball.
ball.
And then 2 or 3 batters later, Bregman hits a grand slam, and the game's over.
Yep.
So you went from 2 outs to getting it eventually loaded bases. And it just, those one little pitch here can change the course of an entire inning, an entire game. And I've been very on top of the umpire auditor account.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last night's ended up being somewhere around 6-5 for the Astros.
Yeah,
But
it was
you,
technically only one last night, but
yeah, it was a technical difference of only one, but you got to figure
per,
that
like
Hudson's I'm sorry strike
yeah,
that was foot inside.
three of them were late for us,
Yeah,
like real late, like where it didn't matter.
right. And you got in the big situation, which I guess we're getting into now, because like I said, these are 3 different games that are all the same game because it's the
Yeah.
same problems going across all 3 games. The big issue from last night, you've got Ryan Zimmerman walks, ball 4, great, 3-2 count, cool. Garrett Cole's pitch counts over 100. Victor Robles comes in, and I know you tweeted it last night or you said it in the group chat. That was probably his best at bat of the series.
Easily. He's been
He has
completely
been, yeah,
completely lost this whole entire
yep,
like there was a bat
overmatched.
I think it was his second at bat yesterday where he looked at 2 fastballs up and then swung at a slider off the plate. Just 3 pitch terrible at bat. Like
Yeah,
what
just
that sounds like when I see a bats like that, I'm like, what the hell are you actually looking for to hit? If you're not gonna swing the
right.
fastball and then you're gonna swing a slider off the plate, like I mean, I guess it's 2 strikes, so that kind of changes things, but still, like, what is your plan? You're really gonna be looking for the slider off Garrett
Yeah,
Cole?
yeah, yeah. You think you're going to be able to hit that? Okay,
And you should look for that. That's just not a good idea. It's not a good plan.
no,
If that was the
he's
plan,
not
but
going to.
it seemed like he didn't have a plan.
So anyway, his best at bat comes. He forces a 3-2 count against Garrett Cole. The pitch is outside and up, further outside than Zimmerman's ball 4. Starts walking down, starts running down to first. Umpire rings him up,
And
and
the crowd loses it.
the crowd loses their mind. It's been a bad strike zone all night,
Yeah.
and that was what set him over. I mean, you had already had Davey Martinez yelling at the umpire.
Yeah.
And you do not see Davey Martinez engage with an umpire.
No.
Rarely, if ever. I
And yelling.
personally wanted,
That's not the
yeah,
first time I've ever seen him actually yelling ever.
I personally wanted him to go out and get thrown out because I didn't
That
think
would
you
have
have
been
anything to lose.
that would have been the time right there.
Yeah, I mean,
I
so,
mean, I was up in the
but
third level and I could see that was outside.
but to set the situation, you've got um,
Run on
Garrett
first, two
Cole
out.
over 100
Yeah.
pitches, runner on first, 2 outs. You've got Victor Robles works a walk. Garrett Cole's going to be out of the game by that point.
Yeah.
And you've got the tying run coming to the plate.
Pinch hitter, top.
Yeah.
Like that's like where we have thrived all postseason. Like that situation, turning over the lineup with 2 outs and just going. And it got shut down by the umpire.
Yeah.
Not really
It was
not Garrett Cole, the umpire.
no. And it was a gift of a call. It was rough. It was very rough. And then of course the first pitch of the next inning, like I said, Hudson throws a ball way inside, called a strike as a makeup call.
Yeah. Too late, man.
Yeah. I'm surprised Eaton didn't get chucked earlier. I'm surprised Robles didn't get chucked. He threw his helmet and bat
Yeah. Oh,
at the
I
umpire.
thought as soon as I saw the helmet come off his head towards the umpire, I thought he was going to be gone. I was just waiting for him to bring him up, just because he had been Barksdale, man. He's kind of like what's his name? I can't remember his name. Hirschbeck, where he like looks for confrontation, and like that's what
and
like the whole
that
thing
leads
with
perfectly.
the
That
whole thing
leads
with Jan.
perfectly. Jan Gums.
Yeah, like the rainy one, like the one to Correa, where it was 0-2 squarely, perfect inside corner pitch. And
Great pitch.
Gums.
And when Joe Buck and John Smoltz, who, I mean, I know we're homers and that's fine, but the narrative coming from the Fox broadcast booth has been Astros, Astros, Astros.
Yeah.
Like when they're like, yeah, I don't see what was wrong with that one. It was a pretty good pitch right where you want it, right there in the zone. When they're saying that, it's a problem.
Yeah. And it seemed like the only reason why I called it a ball was because Jan stood up to throw it around.
Yep.
You could see Jan go, "Oh, it's my fault," which
that's what audio
infuriates me.
Oh, it's my fault? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
great.
Like that's what infuriates me. Like you can like miss that call, but to blame it on the catcher because he is quote unquote showing you up because umpires have the fragilest egos ever. That's the reason why you're going to call it a ball. That's unacceptable. Like you're a man that's paid thousands of dollars to umpire. You cannot hold grudges against players. You need to do your job. A strike is a strike, regardless of where it is. Doesn't matter if the catcher has to die for it. If it's in the strike zone, it's a strike. Period.
Yeah, and there actually was a situation either earlier in the game, I think it was earlier in the game, where Garrett Cole got crossed up, or he just missed his spot horribly, and Maldonado had to reach way across his body. I think it was inside to a right-handed pitcher, and the ball ended up being well outside from where the catcher was set up, but it was in the strike zone, and the umpire called it a strike. And looking at the box on the screen, it was a strike.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it didn't look like a strike because the catcher was there, but somehow he's able to get that one. But because Yan Gomes supposedly stood up too fast, okay, the ball has already crossed the plate and made it into the catcher's glove.
Like, and it's a strike. Like
that's all you need.
Yeah.
Like it's where the ball crosses the plate, not where the catcher frames it, not where the catcher catches it. Nothing. None of that. It's where the ball crosses the plate. That's where the strike zone is.
Like hit a spot and everything too. Like there's no better. Like the catchers do that all the time, and like you're gonna think about, oh, that might have been a strike, but because he stood up, nah. That's the umpiring we have in the World Series right now.
Yeah,
that's the kind of person we have umpiring in the World Series right now.
This crew has been subpar, and it's very sad to see.
They're supposed to be the best.
Yeah, when you see national baseball writers, Jeff Passan, probably the most glaring example. His ESPN article today was essentially all about umpiring and how, if anything, this game is going to quickly advance the robot umpires debate, just because it was an embarrassing display from Major League Baseball last night. And honestly, frankly, the whole series. I mean, I think after Game 3, we were looking at I want to say 32 to 13, something like that. 32 to 13 split. The Nationals technically had the better run in Game 4. I want to say 9 to 6, and then 6.
and then like 5-4 yesterday.
Discrepancy between the two teams. And in some of the biggest moments, and you cannot possibly tell me that if you bring the human element up to me, I'm just your complete unfollow. Like I will tune out anything you ever have to say about baseball again because the technology is there to get the calls right. The umpires embraced instant replay because they didn't want to be the next Jim Joyce. They need to embrace this too because right now an entire city and fan base is going to hate Gary Cederstrom, going to hate Alan Porter, going to hate Lance Barksdale, and
Yep.
whoever that other shits were, the other two games that I have forgotten for very temporarily.
I mean, it's all 5. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And like I even see like I'll a lot of Nats fans are complaining about it on Twitter, but I'll occasionally see on those posts that like an Astros fan will chime in. It's like, yeah, it's been bad both ways, but it's definitely been in our favor. Like I've seen that several times, and today was definitely the most I've ever seen articles about robot umps. And I, obviously been thinking about it a lot today. I'm just thinking maybe, yeah. I mean, I used to be on that
Well,
boat. I used to be on,
you're a baseball guy. You are a high school baseball coach. You
yeah.
live, you breathe baseball. And
Yeah,
this would be a drastic change to everything in baseball. How do you feel about it? Like what are your thoughts you know, outside of just this series in a nutshell? Like where are you now?
honestly, like I used to be completely against it before they had the technology. Before we were seeing like pitch track on every single pitch that we see on the broadcast, like back in like '08, where you're just at the mercy of a live broadcast and you're just kind of depending on your own eye to be like, yeah, it looked good. Yeah, it could have been. And now there's evidence, right? So honestly, in high school, if we had the money to be able to do an automated strike zone, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because the umpires we have in high school are just god awful for good reason. They get paid, $50 a game, and some of them have only been up for a year, so they'll call stuff a foot off the plate, and we just got to deal with it. And like I always tell kids, I'm like, I make the excuses for them as a coach, but it's kind of like an unwritten thing as a player that you just never complain about umps, which like you could see the guys on the Nats last night kind of like towing that line
Right.
where
And
they're
I
just
mean,
like,
you
Jan
saw
was like the
some looks
fact that,
back.
yeah,
You
the fact
saw
that,
you might not have seen it because you were in the stands, but after an Eaton strikeout, he literally just went back and I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but he was like, "Hey, I know that first one was out there, but that one you just called me out on was out there even more." And the umpire was like, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "Yeah, that one was out there even more," and walked back.
but yeah, then their post game, like the Jan was like, the fact that you're even asking right now, I think answers
There's
your
your answer.
question. And
Right.
yeah, the fact that they're all asking
Eaton,
about the zone, they all
Eaton
saw
goes,
that game.
next question.
And yeah,
Like,
he like smiled. He's like,
Eaton
"Did you
says,
see the game?" and smiled.
yeah, did you see the game? And according to Jeff Passan's article today, um, he said one player who he didn't name, this game changed his mind on robot umps,
Yeah,
on the robot strike zone.
I think
This
a lot.
game specifically.
I think it changed a lot of people's minds and like throughout baseball, fans, players, probably coaches too. Like national media is all just like, this is unacceptable,
Yeah,
and it
and this is
is like
all, of course, with the caveat that yes, the Nationals didn't hit with runners in scoring position.
but it doesn't help.
It does not. Garrett
That's the
Cole does
thing.
not need the help.
Like yeah, like like when I do like post game talks with the team and it's obvious an umpire has kind of like screwed us, and I'm just like, look, I'll make the excuse, but you're not going to use this, but the umpires are bad, and there were some calls that kind of screwed us out of some at bats in key situations, and you just got to live with that, and
Yep.
that's the mentality they have to have. But as a fan, we don't have to think like that.
No.
We get to see that the
Well,
umpire is
and as a
screwing us out
fan,
rallies.
this is the major leagues, Johan.
Yeah,
Like this is the best of the best.
yeah.
This
This
is
is the World
where
Series,
this is the World Series. These
and
are
we're
the
getting
top umpires from. I mean, what do we got? 4 umpires, 15 games a year or a day, roughly.
yeah
So you've got how many umpires is that?
60.
Do the math. 60 umpires. Then you've got a New York crew. and an off crew. So roughly 68, 70 umpires.
Supposed to be the best in the country.
This the best in the world, Johan.
And we're
Like,
supposed to have the sixth best right now.
yeah.
And
And
this is not
you've
it.
seen like 90%. I think baseline, like MLB average for strikes, balls and strike calls is 90.3% of strike calls are right. So when a pitcher goes out there and has a 10 pitch inning, one of those is wrong.
You say
Like
90.3?
90.3 is
Like I don't see
MLB
why that's like
average.
I don't see why people are cool with that.
Like it, I don't. Yeah, I don't
Why
know
why
why you
wouldn't you
don't
want it
want to
to
get it
be
right.
like 99% right at least?
Yeah, and
Like
the systems that they had in place for the Arizona Fall League and for the Atlantic League this year, they're not perfect yet.
right.
But I guarantee you, they're calling a better strike zone and more consistent than
Consistent is key.
90.3%.
Consistent's key. Like I wouldn't even mind if like a stadium had their own like strike zone. As long as it
Yeah.
stays the same the entire game. The players could get
Oh,
used to
we're
it.
going. Oh, we're going to SunTrust. Okay, cool. I know that this system calls
It's
a little bit more
wider than
towards the
taller.
outside to righties.
Yeah, or something like
Yeah,
that. Like that would be fine. That would be cool with me as long as the players knew that it was going to be the same strike zone the entire game and they have to cover the pitches they need to cover. I think they're going to be like I don't understand people are going to say like it's going to really hurt hitting. I'm like, no, it's not
no,
because the
it's
batters will
probably going to
get
actually
actual
increase
strikes
offense.
called. Yeah,
It's
and the
probably going
pitchers
to
have to
increase
be
offense.
more precise. They can't steal calls. Catchers can't steal calls for the pitcher like they did all like the Astros have been doing this entire series from us. Like imagine if the strike zone has been 100% or not 100%, but 99% accurate this entire series. We're in it. We're probably not down right now. It might be like it might still be 3-2, but like it might be
It
in our
might, but we might be. Yeah, it might be in our favor, and it might be instead of an 8-1 game, you're looking at a 4-1 game, or
yeah, and like
something closer.
give them a shot because they have just they earned it. They
Because
deserve
that's
it.
what the
They earned
fucking
it.
rule book states, dude.
Yes.
Like
And like
when
I like the fact that and that's the thing like the technology is advanced but also the players the pitchers have advanced so much that I honestly don't think these guys can see
yeah,
like they're
there. I
trying
mean,
to track 98 with run. That's
yeah,
not something you see every day and you're supposed to call that with 95% accuracy. It's not going to happen.
yeah,
That's exactly what that pitch was to Robles, but my thing was it was never a strike.
yep. Oh, it
At
wasn't.
no point out of his hand was it ever a strike. You
Like
cannot
the
call it.
Zimmerman one tailed away.
Yeah, that one could have been like that was obviously closer. It caught a little edge on that. Like that could have
Yeah,
been completely fine with me calling that a strike. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. But Robles's,
especially because he's calling it there all night
yeah, and then
for
like
Cole,
yeah, and then
not for Joe Ross.
yeah, but for Cole, it's been out there, so I get the beef. But then if the Robles one was a makeup call because of the Zimmerman one, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and I mean, he literally showed an inning or two earlier that he is all about personal grudges
Yeah,
with the Jan Gomes thing. Like, oh, you what I forget the words he used. You popped off on me or something.
yeah,
Like,
you
no,
took
he
off on me.
didn't. You
Yeah,
just got a little butt hurt that someone tried to make you look bad, even though I don't know how that would make him look bad.
it's not.
By
But
saying this professional catcher who actually catches the ball like is a
it,
better
it's it's
idea
strike.
of the strike zone than you, like cool. You need to
Yeah,
not be such an arrogant piece of shit
yeah.
to admit when you're wrong. But no, it's they like you said a little bit ago, egos or whatever, the size of Texas.
Yeah, and like my other thing on umpires is like the I feel like the people that know the strike zone the best are not umpires
Yeah,
because they're not the ones that are required to catch or hit it.
right.
Like it sets you
Not at all.
apart. Like that like so you're telling me you can see the strike zone better than the professional hitter that's trying to square up this ball going 99 miles an hour.
Right. Whose livelihood literally depends on
Yeah.
whether he can hit what's there.
He's literally like one of the best I don't know 300 hitters on the planet.
Yeah.
Like and so you're telling me you are absolutely going to know the strike zone better than that guy all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm over it, man. I'm over the human element. I don't really care anymore. Like
Yeah.
I've always wanted as a player for the strike zone to be consistent. I say it all the
Yep.
time in tweets, man. I'm always like, just if it's going to be out there, it's going to be out there. Stay out there the entire game, because then
Stay
the
out there the
hitter
entire
knows
game.
I need to cover that with two strikes. 'Cause it's not about the whole at bat.
Don't
It's about
don't
two
give Garrett
strikes.
Cole one strike zone and give Joe Ross another strike zone.
Yeah, and then you call one pitch on the edge, outside the edge for like inside on for Garrett Cole, and then you call another. The second strike is like outside edge. How is a hitter supposed to cover both edges against a guy like Garrett Cole? You can't.
Right.
It's impossible. So then like you just put them in a just completely hopeless situation because of the strike zone that you've established in the first two strikes. And like that's
Yep.
the like screw the hell human element if that's what's going to happen. Like you don't need it. Like you need if you're going to be big, it's got to be one side. It cannot be both. It's too much to cover when the guys are throwing 95 miles an hour. High school, different story. College, different story. But like in the pros, it's too much. And then they wonder why offense is down.
Yep.
Like you got to cover that, and you got to cover a guy that throws three dirty ass pitches, and you got to cover all of them on two strikes on, with a ball outside both sides. That doesn't make it's impossible.
It's not great, Johan.
I mean, so I was thinking about on the way home. So I was thinking about that a lot, and like the everybody's kind of the extreme reaction now is just to automate everything. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about a lot about tennis and how they've instituted their replay, and that was a big deal to
Hawkeye.
them. Yeah, and it was a big deal to them when they first installed it. Do you happen to know how many times they can challenge a call per match?
I don't. Do you?
And it's got to be under like five. So that's why I was kind of
Yeah.
thinking, like
I
maybe you
would
find a middle.
lean towards 3, but
Yeah,
yeah, maybe
okay, that
5.
makes sense. So I was thinking about a middle ground where you keep the umpire and he calls the game still, but if a coach wants to challenge a ball strike call, they get a certain amount of calls per game, and it has to be immediate. Challenge it. Don't get to look at video. Don't get to look at nothing. Just challenge it on the just like tennis. They put their like as soon as the ball hits the ground and they disagree, they put their hand up and they're like,
Yep.
"You challenge it right now." Like it has to be
Yep.
like
I want to
that.
look at this.
I feel like that would be a decent middle ground where the umpire is still in charge of the game. He can do whatever the ego-driven stuff he wants, but if we
Yeah.
challenge, they challenge immediately, and he goes with the call, and it goes as the challenge says.
Yeah. I think that's a good middle ground.
Like maybe 3 to 5 per game.
If if they were to do that, I think it would be a bridge situation.
Yeah, like
Um,
work up to it.
yeah, work up to it. We're going to do 2 years of this, and
Yeah,
then we'll go automated because the technology is there.
that's what I'm saying.
And I know right now the umpires are negotiating their next CBA with MLB,
Hmm.
so this is going to be a big part of it, and where they come down on it because it's very clear that Major League Baseball wants to do this. I
Yeah.
mean, they struck up the strategic partnership with the Atlantic League
Hmm.
this year, mid-season, to test it out. And then they were like, okay, we like what we're seeing. We're going to do it in an MLB league, which is the Arizona Fall League, which is the top showcase for prospects. So they saw enough that, okay, we're ramping this up quick. And I would not be shocked if part of the reason why we saw that big report on cutting back to, you know, what, cutting a quarter or a third of minor league baseball team was because of costs associated with
Oh yeah.
implementing an
Right.
automatic strike zone.
Yeah.
Because I know that one of the reasons why I'm a big soccer fan and soccer has goal line technology. One of the reasons why MLS doesn't have it right now is because it costs about $2 million to implement.
It's
Because you
just all over the
literally have to
stadium.
have a series of cameras all over the stadium,
Uh,
completely calibrated perfectly to the goal line.
gotcha.
So, or sensors, lasers, or whatever it is. So it's an expensive cost. And if MLB sees this as their future, the cost of putting it into 120 stadiums versus 180, it's pretty big difference in
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised, but I think that MLB has clearly shown that this is where we're going. I think it's going to be a little bit faster after Major League Baseball was completely embarrassed in their showcase marquee event, the World Series,
Yeah.
by umpires getting butthurt and not calling an actual strike zone.
Yeah, I guess that's the only part that's like bad about assigning these guys the World Series is that they're kind of like they feel like hot shit.
Yeah,
So they're like, I'm up in the World Series, so I get to do whatever the hell I want.
yep.
It's kind of how it's felt like, which
Yeah, and
I
the only
guess is
thing they can
understandable.
do hot shit with is the strike zone now
Yeah,
because we've got replay everywhere else.
yeah, and
We
like
literally have automated that process
everything,
too.
like pretty much everything. Um, yeah, like like one of the reasons why I thought about the whole middle ground thing was because I do like I guess one of the main arguments is like the art of catching would die. Well, I
Yeah.
guess it,
Oh, completely.
but like so like I would like to keep that part. I would like them,
Well, here's
I
the thing. Baseball's all about evolving.
right. That's true.
Like baseball now, like infielders, are they actually infielders anymore with all the shifts? I
Yeah.
mean, how many times do you see your third baseman playing directly up the middle now? Or um, your third baseman or your shortstop playing over where a second baseman would traditionally play and your second baseman's in short right? I mean,
Yeah.
positions are not really a thing anymore. There's
Yeah.
nothing that says this is where you put your position players. Like, oh, you have to put your right fielder within this box in the right side of the outfield, but can't extend further than this point. Like that's not in the rules.
Hmm.
So baseball is constantly evolving and changing. So, I mean, the catcher position didn't used to really be a position. Like it used to just be there just to catch the ball. And there
Yeah.
used to be what, a million, like 4 or 5 strikes, like back in the 1800s. Like the game changes, and with it, you know, other things are going to change, and
That's
the
why
catcher position is definitely one of them.
yeah, that's why I
Um,
also wouldn't mind if they did that. I know we've never talked about that. I don't think we ever talked about this, but the whole the batter can steal on any pitch,
God, I fucking
steal
love
first.
it.
So because like that would put the emphasis not on like receiving, but their ability to block.
Yeah,
And so like that's why I feel like would be if they actually did the one because that's like one of the few rules that I'm actually like that's pretty cool. Otherwise, I'm like yeah, don't change this too much. Like
I think it's so. I think anything to increase offense is
yeah,
going to be a good idea. I
yeah,
think that is something that is outside of the box and really neat.
and I think it
Um,
would bring back guys like Greg Maddux. You don't see
yeah,
guys like Greg Maddux, like Anibal Sanchez anymore, like Zach Greinke anymore. Like you rarely see that.
yeah.
You probably see like maybe one a team, but like though
You
that's
see an
pitching.
emphasis on pitching
Yeah,
instead
this
of velocity.
yeah. Like now it's just like if they can throw hard, we'll work with them, and if they don't throw it in the strike zone enough, we'll just find the next guy.
Right. No, and like the game's going to change, and it's more nuanced than just black and white. It's going to change the catcher position,
Yep.
but there's going to be pitchers who want a catcher that traditionally receives, like squats and does that. But there are also going to be catchers that probably set up in a stance that gets them more ready to throw or more ready to block.
Hmm.
Like if you got a slider pitcher on the mound who you want him to throw the old 56-footer, try and get someone to chase, like he might set up a little bit differently than the traditional squat just because the strike zone isn't going to depend on his ability to trick the umpire,
Yes.
which at the end of the day, that's all it is.
Yeah.
The framing is just trying to make the umpire look like an idiot.
Yep.
It's trying to say, you can't actually do your job well, so I'm going to try and trick you. Like that's
Yeah.
framing.
I mean, one of my favorite parts of like coaching is when a catcher comes in. It's like, yeah, we stole a couple there.
Yeah.
This is like, yeah, the umpire just sucks at his job, so we're just taking advantage of him.
But the game needs to evolve, and it's and I think Jeff Passan closed his article with last night's game showed that the march towards robot umpire balls and strikes is going to happen faster than expected because of the game, but it's not going to be soon enough for the Nationals.
Yeah, which kind
And
of reminded me of how like the wild card thing happened the year we happened to win the division, and it kind of screwed us over.
oh, completely screwed us over. Yeah, having to start in St. Louis on the road.
Yeah, because of
Um,
TV. That's always because of TV.
yep, because of those cash dollars.
Uh huh.
Um, So yeah, umpiring has been fucking atrocious. Nats aren't hitting, and that's beside the point. Let's real quick touch on what happened yesterday, midday.
Yeah.
So
So
around what was it, 3 o'clock?
it was 4 because I was getting ready to leave, and I was actually on the pooper right before taking a shower when I read the news.
So obviously you're on your phone.
And yeah, and I was in a perfect position because I don't like imagine if I wasn't on the on the toilet at the time. Because I mean,
Yeah,
dude, I was like, "What?" Because it was Sperluga, the first tweet I saw. Max will not start today. And I was like, "What?" And then I started just scrolling, and they started rolling in. I'm like, "What on earth?"
yeah. Um, this is a pitcher who we saw break his face during batting practice on a bunt,
Terrible butt, by the way.
leave the ballpark, go to the hospital with a broken face, and pitch the next day in
Yeah.
a meaningless June game. And I don't have the stat line in front of me, but I think he was pretty dominant.
Oh, he was. I think he had 10 Ks, and
I think it
yeah,
was 7 innings.
yeah. After the game, he was just like, "Yeah, it didn't bother me at all." I was like, "What a
Yeah, this is a
beast!"
dude who broke his
Your
face
nose
and
is
pitched
broken.
in a meaningless game.
Yeah,
And he's
and
got a violent
shoved.
action. That couldn't have felt good.
I know, right? That's just the blood just moving around there.
So the
Could you
fact
imagine?
that for I no, I cannot. Although I
Right?
did
Yeah.
go to work. I did go to work the day after getting my finger cut off. So
Oh,
I am pretty badass. Um, so this is the person who went to his manager for Game 5 of the World Series when it's tied at 2
yeah.
and says, "I can't go tonight."
Dude,
Like,
it must have absolutely just killed him.
yeah. And I watched his press conference in full,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
he
yeah.
literally could not turn his neck.
Yeah.
He said
It,
his wife had to dress him
I mean, it's
because
a
he
good thing
fell out of
he was in a swivel chair because otherwise,
bed. I guarantee you they did the swivel chair
oh,
on
probably
purpose,
just for him. Because yeah, he
just for him.
was literally just. I mean, I know what it feels like when you like sleep on your neck wrong. I can't imagine that being your trap and you can't even like lift your arm.
Yeah,
And so yeah, he was like literally just swiveling to whoever's asking the question, and it looked like he was about to cry the entire time.
yeah. And this is that person. So for
Right.
him to say, "I can't do it,"
Oh my God.
is insane. Like, it's insane. And like, I saw a lot of non-Nationals fans chiming in, like, "What the hell? This is ridiculous. It's the World Series. You might never get
Dude,
back
you
there
just
again."
obviously
And
don't know
every
Max.
every Nats fan I saw was literally, if he says he can't go, it's got to be
It's bad.
horrible.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't be able to get out of bed.
Like that thought didn't even cross my mind. That
Yeah,
it was like he was like somehow like I don't know. What could you even fathom he would be his excuse would be? But like like as soon as it said I saw that tweet and it said he was out and I was like he might be dying right now.
yeah.
Like
He might be on his deathbed,
he might be on his deathbed. That's like the only
and
way he's
he's
not going
still
to pitch this
saying, "I
game.
think I can go for Game 7."
Oh my God. Yeah. Dude, and could you have you ever gotten a cortisone shot?
No, but I'd love
Dude,
one.
but when it first goes in, it is rough.
Really? What is
Yes.
it, like, burn?
Yes. Because it's basically like numbing the nerves.
Ugh.
Yeah. So like I couldn't imagine how much that hurt when he got that done. And I mean, obviously we're hoping it's the 48 hours like he's saying, because that
Yeah.
would put him in. But I mean, even then, like even if that's okay, we don't know if he's gonna be able to throw.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
just kind of for the pain to like recede. Well,
Do you
we
want
don't
to
know.
hear a fun story about injuries?
Yeah.
So, one of my multiple finger surgeries, the doctor came in, or the anesthesiologist came in. He said, "We want to do a nerve block for you." Do you know what a nerve block is?
No.
Okay, so a nerve block is basically you go and you follow the, I guess, neurons and whatever in my case, it was arm, back a little bit further, and you put a shot in that completely knocks them out for X amount of time. So essentially, a cortisol shot, I would assume.
Yeah.
But like, doesn't knock the pain out. It completely knocks it out. Like, you cannot move it. You can't feel it
Oh.
at all. Like,
Okay. Okay.
completely numb. So it was on my right arm. So the dude went into my armpit and put a shot
Damn, all
in
the way up there.
all the way up there. So my whole arm was like, you could hit it with a baseball bat, would not feel a thing.
So you're like Mr. Deeds, his butler.
Yeah. So you get out of surgery, and here's the weirdest part. It lasts 48 hours.
What? Wait,
So
so is that when you actually, that was the one, not when it got amputated, but like one of the
no,
ones before that, right?
this was the
Okay.
one right before.
Okay. Okay.
Trying to fix the problem to
Right.
avoid amputation.
Right.
Um, so, and it's really freaky because he's like, yeah, it'll take somewhere between 36 and 48 hours. We don't really know exactly. Like, it's going to wear off, though. Don't worry. And so you're sitting there and you have to elevate. And so I'm in my recliner and I've got my arm up because you have to keep it elevated. And like, all of a sudden, my hand, which is wrapped in this big, hard, and soft cast, would just hit me in the face because I can't feel it to keep it up.
I was gonna say, how are you keeping up in the first place?
Like, you just
Did you have
position
like
it there and hope it
pillows?
stays. Yeah.
Okay.
And you would just hit yourself in the face and you'd be like, oh, okay, great.
That's my
But
arm.
the freakiest part is that, you know, there is a moment there where like you've had a whole day and night of this, a whole day the next day, and you wake up and you're like, oh fuck, I can't feel my arm. They screwed something up,
Yeah. And now you're never gonna be able to
and
feel my arm again.
now I'm never gonna feel my arm again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been 48 hours. Oh, it's been 49 hours and I can't feel it yet. My arm is gone. It's so freaky. Like, it's not just numbing the pain, it completely knocks it out. And obviously it came back, but dude, one of the freakier moments of my life.
I can't imagine. The closest thing I've had to that is when I got my mouth numb for a root canal. And it was only half
Yeah,
of my
that's
mouth, so it
not
was
the
like half
same.
my tongue. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, that's
But
not
that's
the
like the
same.
closest I've gotten to to that. Otherwise, I had my shoulder surgery and I was just knocked out the whole time.
Perfect.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
that was weird
So
not
yeah,
being in control of time. But yeah, yeah,
Max Scherzer.
Max not being able to go was, I mean, a definite gut punch. Just getting ready to go to the park. It's almost like if it's like pouring rain when you leave for the park, except one of the best pitchers on the team, just not able to throw.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Joe Ross did a great job. I think.
Yeah,
I think he
and
got absolutely screwed on
yeah,
that 2-run home run.
yeah. But I mean, even if it was Scherzer, like it wouldn't have mattered
Yeah, no, it
because they
wouldn't
didn't score any runs.
because
So yeah,
the Nationals bats are apparently in Houston.
yeah. Uh,
I don't want to talk too much about that. We can talk a little bit about how terrible the Nats bats have been, but yeah, it's not great.
I mean, one thing I will say, kind of on a positive note, and I've kind of tweeted this. I keep tweeting, and it'll fall eventually because I counted. And I went through all 3 games, and they have lined out 13 times, which
Which means good contact.
yeah, which is also like very unlucky.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I know the Astros positioning
yeah,
is
they're good.
generally really good. And let me see if actually I don't know if I'll have the ability to pull it up. I want to see what the Astros BABIP against was
For the
all year.
all year.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So why don't you talk for a
they're
minute and I
yeah.
will.
I mean, they're positioned well, but like they're still I felt like every time they hit the ball hard throughout all 3. I think it was I counted because I think for at bat it has to be a certain miles per hour and a certain probably height for it to be considered a line out. So I just went to the ones that said line out to the outfield. There was
Right.
3 in game 3. There's 5 in game 4 and 5 in game 5, which seems to be like a lot. I mean, obviously I don't have the numbers of like the average of lineouts per game, but I feel like it's usually about 2 or 3.
Okay, here you go. So of 30 teams in baseball, which pitching staff or what Where do you think the Astros pitching staff rated in BABIP for the year? 1 being the best, 30 being the worst.
7.
Number 1.
Oh, where were the Nats?
14, 15,
That's
15.
right, squarely in the middle.
Right,
They were number
right
one, huh?
smack dab. Yep, 270 BABIP against. For the Nats were 296. So you got to figure position,
I mean, it
defensive
helps.
position helps. Because it seems like every time they hit one of those fucking line drives, you're getting 100 miles an hour exit velocity,
Yep.
and it's right at a fucking outfielder.
But like, other than like Trey had one last night that was to right field, it was like down the line, and Springer was just waiting for it. It's
Yeah,
been basically right at him. Like a lot of them haven't had to take more than like 5 steps, and it's not because positioning helps, but like they're not hitting gaps, they're not hitting down the line.
no,
They're just had like, and a lot of them are to well, most of them are to left, which is kind of concerning. If it was more to center, I'd be a little more happy because that means they're staying inside the ball and they're staying through it. But they're still squaring up a lot of balls and not getting anything for it, and this doesn't help when they're like getting screwed by umpires and they're facing really really good pitching that's getting help.
yeah,
So it's I mean, maybe it might be too little too late, but at some point it's got to turn.
yeah.
It
At some
just it
point,
can't go
you got
from
a law of averages.
you can't go from games 1 and 2 to like nothing 3 games in a row. Like the odds of that happening are very very low, and
Right.
it just happened to happen. But like for that to carry over the next game would almost be astronomical.
Yeah. Let me see
Especially
where offensive BABIP. Yeah, Nationals had a 306 BABIP for the year.
where were they at?
That's eighth overall. Astros were at 296, 16th overall.
Oh,
Wow, White Sox had the highest. Okay,
really?
yeah,
That's
um,
interesting.
very. So you gotta hope that averages kind of play out a little bit, and that something changes. Because if they don't change it, if the balls don't start finding some green, I mean the series is over tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I think Rendon put it
uh,
best. He's like, yeah, you just got to get that interview was hilarious. He's like, yeah, you just got you kind of
you got
like
to take
square up the ball
the 1 for 21 into a
and
two
make
for
it,
22,
yeah,
three
and
for
then like
23, four
you
for
hit the
24.
ball, you hit the ball. If it lands in the outfield grass, it's usually a hit.
Yeah,
So you just kind of want to do that a couple times, and then they had
and then you
they
use these thing
stupidly
called
asked like,
bats.
yeah, he's like, well, what's gonna help you like get those hits? Like, what a dumb question.
Well, we have these thing called bats.
Like you remember who you're talking to? I guess it must have been somebody that didn't know him. Because
No, it was Jesse Doherty.
really,
Yeah,
how you can't ask Anthony Rendon a question like that?
no, it was Jesse Doherty.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was yeah. Like at some point, I'm really hoping it turns next game, man. Like, I mean, it's
So
tough task against Verlander, but
yeah, I
they've
mean
already done it.
Verlander's 0-5 in the World Series in his career with a 5.30 some ERA.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the Nationals are feeling a little bit of pressure, but they felt nothing but pressure all year long.
Yeah.
So they're used to must-win games, and this is another one. They are. I can't remember what their record is in elimination games. I think it's 3-0 this year.
This year, yeah. Wild card
Yeah,
game, game 4, game 5.
yeah. So
Yeah.
their record stands well. They've got what is essentially their ace in Steven Strasburg towing the rubber tomorrow.
Yep.
He has been. I think the Nationals haven't lost when he's pitched.
Postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think they have.
So you've got a lot of things going for you tomorrow. The bats need to come alive. You hope Strasburg, who is going to be cool as a cucumber, and that the bats can get to Verlander a little bit, which I think they can.
Yeah. I got like they've already like everybody's like, oh, you got to win on the road. They've already won there twice.
Yep.
So they've against their 2 best pitchers, and one of them they're facing tomorrow. And the last time they had more than 3 losses in a row was in May a 4-gamer and a 5-gamer, which ended that date, May 23rd. It was a 5-game losing streak that ended and started the entire season basically over again.
Yeah.
Um,
The
and
Nationals hadn't lost 3 in a row to the same team at home all
yeah,
year.
yeah, in quite a while. The the thing that kind of like was pretty evident to me was that they were pressing pretty hard all 3 games at the plate. I feel like they were trying to do too much because they were at home and they're trying to like really get the crowd in. They're trying to get wins in DC, and you could tell they were just pressing too hard. I think Juan Soto has pretty much personified the entire team, where he was just rolling everything over, except for basically that last home run during these 3 games, and he was like
Yeah.
whiffing and like whiffing on with like huge swings too. I'm like, you don't need to be doing that, man. Like, go
Well, you
back
got
to
to think
what.
maybe the pressure of being at home in front of the fans, wanting to give the fans something,
Yeah, it's
really made the
it kind of
difference. Whereas, like on the road, I mean, they've won 6 games on the road this postseason, which is insane
yeah. I
for an
gotta
entire postseason.
I gotta
That
compare.
they're on the road, they're focused because they're staying in
Yep.
the hotel. They don't have the distractions, and they're just like, yeah, we're against it. We're literally against the wall. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta keep comparing them because the similarities are there. The Caps 2018, like they did all their best. They clinched every series on the road.
The
They did
Caps
their
lost the first 2, or
at home. Yeah,
yeah,
at home against the Blue Jackets.
yep,
And
lost
then
the first 2 at home against the Blue Jackets. I'm pretty sure they, when they were facing the Lightning, they won 2 on the road, then lost 2 at home,
yep.
and then ended up winning the series in 6.
No, the Lightning was like that's a lot of people are comparing this to that because they won 2 on the road, they lost 2 at home, they won 1 on the road. Oh no, they lost on the road and then they had to win at home, which was
Yeah.
like and then they had to win on the road to go to the Stanley Cup.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but
So
basically,
either
it was
way,
2-3-2. That's the way that series
yeah,
was 2-3-2. So, like,
yeah.
they, it kind of makes sense too. The hotel thing, I think, is a big thing. You're like, because that's the thing. Everybody must have been so hyped. All their families must have been so hyped. They're like, oh my God, you're going to a World Series. I get to play at home. We get to watch you play. Like, the whole family's going to be here. So, like, there's all that other stuff going on, all the fanfare, and like, you don't get to just like focus on the game. And it was very obvious that the Astros were able to do that. They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
we're here. We need to get bounced back in the series. We need game 1, and then they end up just like taking it to us for 3 straight games. And I'm hoping that kind of turns back the other way around. Like now they're all talking about, oh my God, we're about to win a World Series, and they got all that stuff, getting ready for that, and we're just back to being the underdogs where they have
Back
thrived
to
this
being the
offseason,
underdogs. No,
this postseason.
the road team has never won 6 in a row in the World Series.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Nationals have made history this whole postseason.
Yep.
So, why stop now? I think being up against the wall is, if anything, going to loosen this team up because they're more used to that.
Yeah.
They're not used to being out in front this year.
Yeah.
They're used to, I mean, they were down 2-1 against the Dodgers.
Yep. And that game 3
They
was
were
like,
down 3-1 in the wild card game in
yeah.
the 8th inning.
And like, dude, they just had to remember game 3. We were both there. It was awful against the Dodgers. That game sucked.
Yeah. Oh God, it was fucking terrible.
Yeah. And like, I felt okay. Like I felt okay after the game. I was like, well, I think we talked about it too. It was just like, well, let's see what they can do. Then
Yeah.
they came back and won that. They came back and won game 4. We were there together, and then Zim hit that granny. I mean, not granny, that
And
home
then they
run,
came back to win game 5.
and then they didn't lose a game for the next 7.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of me like, yeah, today was like awful. It was pretty miserable just thinking about how the weekend went, and but there's as the days gone on, I've kind of been getting back into it. Like this team can still do this. This team
Yeah.
can still prove everybody wrong. They can continue to surprise us, even though they know they're
If
good.
any team can do it, it's going to be this team.
Yeah, seriously. Like Noah, I don't think any other team that went to the postseason this year, if I really think about it, probably would have already lost this. I think.
Yeah.
Like the Cards would have got demolished, right? The Braves might have, depending on how they were playing. Dodgers, Astros would have been a good series, but like,
We
I don't
saw
know,
that
man.
once already.
The Astros
No,
are
wait.
the Astros are damn good, man.
They're really good.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch. It's kind of, and I'm kind of that's the kind I'm trying to look at it from the outside perspective. Like or like when I can look down the road and be like, man, if they should lose this series, like at least we lost it to literally the best team this year in the MLB, and they proved it.
I mean,
But
they're a. I mean, I know they want respect of a dynasty. I don't think they're there yet,
not yet.
but you could see it
Yeah.
because they've got young talent
Yep.
under team control. They've got some horrible fucking people making decisions and on the field.
Yeah.
But they've also got some of my favorite players that I've seen. So,
I mean, yeah, they're my favorite AL team for a reason.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, Osuna and Gurriel can go die in a fire, and I'd be fine.
yeah.
Pretty much their entire front office,
Yep.
from Jim Crane, owner, all the way on down, could probably also do the same, and I
Yeah.
would be perfectly happy. But, I mean, I love Altuve. George Springer's a beast. Brantley can hit the lights off the ball. This guy, Yordan
Oh
Alvarez,
my God. Yeah.
holy fuck.
He's definitely made a fan out of me.
Like,
That guy can flat
and
out hit.
I was
That
talking
home run he
to,
hit, dude. That home run
oh,
he hit was insane. That pitch,
dude,
you texted me. You're
that
like, that
was a
was a really good
great
pitch.
pitch. That
I
was
was
a
like, damn.
great pitch.
And he
This is a
drove it out
guy.
to left center like it was nothing.
This is a guy who only can hit the inside half of the ball.
Yeah.
The defense is positioned as such, and he takes a low and outside pitch
It's the red
and
porch.
just cranks it into the red porch.
Yeah. That
Like, and
was.
dude, I know you probably couldn't see it. The backspin. Oh,
Oh really? Like
oh,
a golf drive.
oh. It was gorgeous. And like, so there are some likable players. And I was talking to a good friend of both of ours earlier today, and it was just like, I'm so glad right now that this is the Astros and not the Yankees.
Oh my God. Yes.
Because if it were the Yankees, it would be all about Yankee fans and
Yep.
trying to win number 28
Mhm.
and all of that bullshit. But this, I mean, I know the Astros have been fucking terrible the last 2 weeks from an organizational standpoint, but the Astros fans that I've met have been great.
Yeah.
The 23 of 25 players on the Astros are wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. It's really nice to have that, like, not have the off the field stuff, not have the, you know, obnoxious New York media hounding down. Like, it's nice to have it be about the baseball. And it has been, except for the umpires.
Yeah. I.
But it's nice to see two fan bases really hit it off. And I love that little Washington Post ad today
Yep.
that was taken out.
Yeah. It makes me feel good as a DC fan that they had that experience, because that's usually
Right.
the experience. So you don't usually see too many assholes at Nats Park.
No,
But
you sure don't. I
and
mean,
that's what
there
I'm
have been
worried about.
plenty
Like
of Phillies.
yeah, but these games though kind of tend to bring out those type of people.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of
No,
worried about this advance.
my experience Saturday night, I was sitting right below the Astros section, quote unquote,
Yeah,
and there was some jeering down from them. Uh, when something good happened, they turned down to yell at Nats fans instead of cheering on their team.
yeah,
But I completely understand the mob mentality and, you know, things getting to a point where things are like that in a big crowd. I think any crowd is going to be like that. And I'm sure Nats fans have been the same when there have been large groups at away games. But
and I'm assuming it
every,
was after the Bregman Grand Slam.
it's exactly when it happened.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably not a better time that you're gonna
Right.
hear that. Like,
And I get it. I'd probably do the same thing.
yeah,
Like, go home, get the out of here, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Like, here's the car keys. But everyone I've spoken to, like, I was walking down Friday. I didn't have a ticket to the game, and I went down and we watched the game at Walters, and like I saw a couple of Astros fans just walk past them, and they said to me first, like, "Hey, good luck tonight," and I'm like, "Hey, you too. Like, let's have a good
nice.
game."
That's
And it's
cool.
just it's really neat to see because I bailed on the game a little bit Saturday night after the Bregman home run, but I was at a bar after watching the last two innings, and some Astros fans came up because I was outside with a couple friends watching the game, and a couple Astros fans came up just on the street, and they're watching with us. And it's lighthearted banter. It's
Yeah.
friendly. It's they're like, "Oh, we're glad to win this one," and I'm like, "It's the ninth inning. It's not over yet. Like, don't rule us out." And they're like, "Okay," and I'm like, "We'll see what happens tomorrow." And it's just fun. It's not
Yeah.
toxic. And that would not have happened with the Yankees.
Oh, hell no. And like even on Twitter, it's happened with the few fans I've kind of followed a couple days ago. It's been just lighthearted banter. I just keep telling them to be quiet during the games whenever they're saying stuff. Just kind of just like, not now, man, not now. And we'll talk
Yeah,
after the game and stuff. But yeah, I'm so, I mean, we kind of mentioned before, I'm so glad it's the Astros instead of the Yankees because, I mean, the game experiences would have been just that much worse
yeah.
because otherwise, other than
No
the
question.
actual games, like this entire weekend was just fucking amazing.
Dude, we got to go see. I don't know how many times I've said this. We got to go see our team
Yeah.
in a World Series
Uh
at
huh.
home.
Yeah.
Like, not only like as a baseball fan, an MLB fan,
Yeah.
growing up my entire life, like getting to go to a World Series game that was in my team's park, and it wasn't because like Baltimore got blown up or something.
Yeah.
Like, like that's so cool.
I mean,
I
it felt
was,
like when I went to the home run derby last year when Harper won it.
yeah,
Like that
exactly.
was like I'm actually getting to see a home run derby in Nats Park. And then this just
Yeah,
like
that
obviously
was
ups that. This is not even like that puts that like that's like small beans compared to this.
yeah, that was a top three sporting experience of my life.
Yeah. And like
The home run
just
derby, and the fact that like we got to see our team. Yeah, they didn't win, but we got to see our team play in the biggest showcase in the world
yeah. And you just have to
in
keep
our
reminding
home.
yourself of that. Like during the game, you're like, there's 100 million people watching right now. And I'm here. Just watching from the stands. It's like a surreal
Yeah,
moment. You have to just keep reminding yourself, like, this is the World
and
Series.
I don't like real quick. I don't know how you felt, but um, that stand up to cancer moment, like, fuck,
Tears, definitely.
dude, that was powerful.
That
Like, I
got me.
know it's always been powerful on TV, and
Yeah,
like walking into the park and like I saw the table and I was like, oh shit, this is the game where we do that.
yeah,
Like, I'm used to watching the World Series. Never once expected those two things to happen. Like where I was in the park, my team was in the World Series, and we get to do the stand with the cancer thing.
yeah,
Like it was powerful.
yeah. That the video they played just hit you right in the heart.
Yeah, it was it was phenomenal. It was so cool just to be around. And like I had tickets to only Saturday night, or I had a ticket to only Saturday night. Like, but I was around Friday, and the second I got out of the car on Friday at like 4 o'clock, you could just feel the
Oh yeah,
energy.
yeah.
Like it was unreal. And I wasn't able to get to any of the Capitals watch parties or anything like that. But there was just this visceral energy in the air. And that's something that I will never forget.
It felt like it reminded me like walking in and like waiting before the game to start. It reminded me of 2012 Game Five.
Yeah.
The excitement in the air after Worth had hit that walk off the night before, and they lived to fight another day. Like being at the park before that game was one of the top like pre games of my life, and like that's how the World Series felt.
Yeah.
I felt like, dude, this is unbelievable that we're all here. I saw so many people that I knew just walking around and just like all throughout the park, just seeing just big
Dude, I
baseball
ran
fans,
into
people like
people I
drunk
haven't
fans.
seen in
Years,
years.
years, like since high
Years.
school. Yeah.
And it's
A few
like,
guys I
you're
played with
here.
years ago. Yeah, it's like, of course,
Yep.
you're here. That makes sense.
You're here. And we're all
Yeah,
going to experience this together. And it's going to make us closer, and it's going to, galvanize everything. And it's been so much better. And I appreciate it so much more because it's so unexpected.
I completely agree, and I was been thinking a lot about if the Nats had made it in 2012 for some whatever, however they would have gotten there,
Exact same thought. Yep.
like how well, we didn't know each other in 2012. I would have
Yeah.
been like maybe going to that game with a family member or one of my buddies I went to high school with or something like that. But like,
I would have been watching at home because I wouldn't have had any clue that I could possibly go. You know, the
yeah, and
only
like,
reason I went was because of the kindness of friends that I've met
right,
online.
right, yeah, and like that's the reason why I was able to like kind of get to where I was too, and like to have these relationships built purely through the Nats. Getting to see everybody like before the games and just like, oh my god, I'm so excited you're here. It's the World Series, and that's kind of like, well, you just had to like, oh my god, this is the World Series. You just like say that like 50 times before the game because everybody you see, you're like, oh my god, we're at a World Series at home. Like, can you believe this? And if it happened in 2012, we would not have had that. So it kind of makes me like glad that we've had to wait
Yeah,
this long and we've
what
got to
made the
enjoy
Caps
this
win
together.
special? Like, what made the Caps win special?
Yeah,
Because it had been years and years
of
of being
expectations.
the horse
Yep,
that's expected to win and not
yep,
doing it.
yep,
It made it that much better.
yeah,
This is exactly the same.
yep. And
House
yeah,
money.
I'm so glad that I know the people that I know, because I've been able to go to a lot of games that I probably wouldn't have. Like in 2012, just like not going probably to any games past like the NLDS. I didn't have the money back then. I didn't have the connections. I didn't know the people. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way, and I wouldn't have. I definitely would not have enjoyed that this much. Like, just having the people I follow on Twitter be like following me. Like, it's nice. Like, that's one of the nice things about having so many people following you is that you can spit out a tweet and just like everybody will interact with you and just like run with it, and like you have conversations like all day long, and everybody's excited about the Nats right now. It's like the best time to be on Nats Twitter.
yeah.
And like in 2012, we wouldn't have had that. We would have had like a couple people that are on there, but like it's nothing close to what it is now. So like, dude, this
No,
whole weekend was like, you think about it two different ways. Like, obviously the
it was the
results,
best of times. It
the
was the worst of
best and
times.
worst weekend like ever.
Yeah,
Like, because like that, it's just so bad because like if they hit, it's an even matchup. I think they proved that. Like the pitching wasn't that
yeah.
bad. We didn't hit, so it didn't even matter what the pitching did. But like when they
Like,
hit, it's an even matchup, and
like
they
in
could
all
actually do
reality,
this. They could do
there's
this.
been there's been one good game this series, and it was game one.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything else has been meh.
yeah. Like just
So
a slog, and like, dude, if they Strauss shows up tomorrow, and they can scratch a bunch of hits off of Verlander, I mean, if they can, obviously, the
if
goal
you
is to
can
win.
force a game seven,
Force Game
anything can
Seven.
happen.
Yeah, and like they've already surpassed everything. Like
Yeah,
we've talked about it so many times. They surpassed everything we could have imagined this year. They're just in the position to be like they've shown us like they could actually do this, and now that's kind of the expectation. You're kind of like, man, it's not just a pipe dream anymore. This could actually be this. They could actually do this.
yeah. I mean, I look at my calendar. It's October 28th, and the Nationals still have at least one game left.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I feel so lucky as a baseball fan, as a Nats fan.
Yeah,
Like, and I feel nothing but happiness for all of my friends that get to experience the same thing I'm feeling right now because I
yep,
know they all do.
yeah,
And whether you've been a fan for a day, whether you've been a fan for 15 years, like, you are hyped for tomorrow. Yeah,
yep,
you're anxious. Yeah, you want to throw up,
yep.
but
If you're not
this is
excited,
why
it doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, like you got to be excited about it tomorrow. Like, yeah, you might, like you said, you might be like just throwing up all day long, but we have. Oh my God, it's like kind of getting to me now. We're going to Game 6 with Strauss on the mound,
Yeah.
backs against the wall, season on the line. Like, I don't think you can script it better.
No, it's
The only reason why it feels bad is because if it's gone, we won two and we lost three. Like if it was just any
if
mix in between, it would be like, okay, we're in a great position right now.
if it's the Monday before the wild card game and someone says to you, "Hey Johan, it's you're in the World Series. You're down 3 games to 2. You've got Strasburg on the mound against
Against the
Houston.
Astros, yeah,
How are you feeling right now?" You're gonna be like, "I am fucking pumped
we won the
as fuck."
NLDS. We won the
Like, yeah,
NLDS.
yeah, yeah. You're
That's
like,
what I would
wait, we
ask. Was like,
won.
we actually won the NLDS against the Dodgers.
Like, every single person would take that in a heartbeat one
Yeah,
month ago. So
that's what.
take it right now. Get the fuck behind this team and let's fucking do this.
Yeah, man.
And I don't think we have a better place to stop than right there.
Yeah, man.
So we're gonna go ahead and cut off this, maybe. And I think you and I actually have to hang up to end the show.
I wonder if it'll still
So
keep going.
no, because we have to hang up.
Oh, hang up, hang up. All right.
and
Well,
then Joe has to cut it off because Joe couldn't be here.
I guess. Well, I guess I'll say if this is the last one before.
Yep.
Well, it is going to be the last one before the season
If
ends,
it's gonna be the last one, yeah.
regardless. Um, dude, it's been fun. I'm sure we'll do an after, but like,
Yeah, well,
I
they'll definitely do a post show on Thursday after the Nationals win the World Series.
there you go. I'll let you say it. I'm not
And
gonna say that. I
actually,
can't say
no, it's
that.
not going to be Thursday because Thursday's
Wednesday.
Halloween, and
Oh, right.
I have a child,
That's right.
so
But
Halloween's very important.
it is gonna be raining, which is the bad part.
It's fine. It's still going to be Halloween, and you still do the thing.
Yeah, that's cool. But
So
yeah. So whenever.
we
Um,
will be back with you for a post show, but this has been a ride, regardless of what happens tomorrow.
yeah.
Game 6. Be happy. Try and take in some joy, regardless.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that was the hardest part about this weekend is kind of remembering like that was awesome. Regardless of the
Yeah,
results of the game, like that was awesome. The Nats hosted a weekend series of the World Series, and I'm sure
yeah.
everybody's still feeling it. I mean, I'm still feeling it. It's 3 straight days of sleeping at like 3 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So
So late.
they've made the late nights worth it for the past month, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's hope
I
they make
mean,
it really really
I
worth
will
it at the
never
end.
forget October 2019.
No, never.
So
Just like I won't May June of 2018.
yeah.
Yep.
So
I missed that. I just miss being in the middle of that run. That's kind of like the sad part about this is that no matter what, that's pretty much the only sad part about this. Like you can be disappointed if they don't do it, but I mean this has been so much fucking fun.
yeah, most enjoyable Nats team ever.
Yeah, easily.
So all right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back with you in the next few days, depending on what happens. Hopefully, we're here talking about who's going to the parade. But if not, it's fine because this has been fucking awesome.
Yep. And this team has gotten me to love them more than I ever could imagined. With
Thank
this
you,
run.
Johan. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will talk to you later.
Later.
All right, yo.
Later, everybody.
Bye.